Chosen one, listen closely, because what is happening right now is not random, and it is not routine. You did not stumble into this moment by accident, and you are not hearing these words because an algorithm decided so. This is a divine alert, a summons released from heaven itself. There are moments when heaven moves quietly, and then there are moments when heaven interrupts. This is an interruption, a signal, a warning, and an invitation at the same time. Something has shifted in the unseen, and you are being made aware because you are meant to respond. Hear this clearly. Archangel Michael is not on his way. He is present. This is not future tense. This is not symbolic language meant to inspire emotion. This is a declaration of spiritual reality. The warrior of heaven has already been assigned, already positioned, already activated. His assignment is specific protection. Where you were vulnerable, warfare. Where resistance intensified, and breakthrough. Where doors remain sealed despite your prayers. Heaven is not delayed, heaven has acted. But this moment carries weight because it is not open-ended. There's a limited time divine window attached to this assignment. Not because God is unstable, but because seasons require movement. What heaven releases must be met with agreement on earth. Protection is real, but alignment is required. Authority is present, but obedience activates it. This is not about perfection. It is about responsiveness. Heaven is waiting for your yes, not your credentials. That urgency you feel in your spirit right now, that stirring, that pressure, that sense that something is demanding your attention is not anxiety. It is awakening. Romans 13:11 speaks directly to this moment. The hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. This is a wake-up call, not for everyone, but for the chosen. Many will scroll past. Many will dismiss this as noise. But you are still here because something in you recognizes the call. You are being positioned as chosen, not because you are better, but because you are willing. Willing to listen, willing to move, willing to align. And alignment begins with agreement. That is why I ask you, if your spirit bears witness to this, if you sense that this message is for you, type amen in the comments. That is not engagement for vanity. It is a declaration of agreement with heaven. And stay with me. Do not leave early. This is not just information, it is activation. At the end, we will seal this moment with a prayer that anchors what heaven has already released. What is unfolding is supernatural, and it is intentional. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are right on time. What you endured in silence did not disappear into nothing. It traveled upward and provoked a response from heaven. There were battles you fought that no one applauded, prayers you whispered that never made it into public language, moments where your faith was tested in ways words could not explain. You held it together when everything inside you felt stretched thin. And while it seemed unseen, heaven was watching with precision. Every tear carried weight. Every quiet act of obedience was recorded. Nothing about your endurance went unnoticed. This is where truth must realign your understanding. Silence was never rejection. It was preparation. God does not withdraw when he is forming. He grows quiet when he is working deeply. The hidden seasons were not punishment. They were qualifying grounds. You were being strengthened internally for what you would eventually carry externally. If heaven had answered too soon, it would have relieved the pressure, but it would not have produced the depth. And what you are stepping into now requires depth. God's response to your endurance was not subtle. It was strategic. Heaven did not send a message of sympathy. It sent reinforcement. That is why the assignment released over your life carries such weight. Archangel Michael was sent not because you were breaking, but because you endured. Endurance is a kingdom signal. It tells heaven that you can be trusted under pressure, that you will not abandon your calling when things become uncomfortable, and that you will remain faithful, even when the outcome is unclear. This is important to understand. Michael is not dispatched for convenience. He is released for critical moments when destiny intersects resistance. The intensity you felt was not random. It was proportional to what you carry. Heaven does not send its mightiest warrior to ordinary situations. This was an appointed response to an appointed season. And this season is not permanent. It is purposeful. The silence had an expiration date. The waiting had a boundary. The endurance was never meant to last forever. It was meant to prepare you for transition. What you survived was not your destination. It was the proving ground that qualified you for what comes next. So, if you ever questioned whether your quiet faith mattered, let this settle deeply. Your endurance moved heaven. Your silence spoke louder than you realize. And now the response has arrived not to keep you hidden, but to escort you forward. The season is shifting. What was preparation is giving way to movement. And what once felt like isolation is now revealing itself as divine positioning. As the season turns, what becomes unmistakably clear is that this moment is backed by kingdom-level reinforcement, not human effort. Faith under pressure is not ignored in heaven. It qualifies you for support that goes beyond natural explanation. When you continued to believe while carrying weight you never asked for, when you stayed aligned while everything around you tried to destabilize you. Heaven took notice. Pressure revealed capacity. Resistance revealed calling. And calling triggered response. This is why the assistance surrounding you now carries wisdom, strategy, and favor, not confusion or chaos. Archangel Michael does not arrive with noise. He arrives with order. Where decisions felt tangled, clarity begins to surface. Where doors required force, favor now creates access. Strategy replaces scrambling. You are no longer guessing your way forward. You are being guided. This is not because you suddenly became stronger. It is because reinforcement has arrived. Many of the things you felt recently finally make sense in this light. The unexplained fatigue, the heaviness that lingered even after rest, the disturbances in your sleep, the sense of being pressed mentally at night. These were not random symptoms or personal weakness. They were indicators of spiritual resistance. When pressure intensifies without a visible cause, it often signals that movement is happening beneath the surface. Opposition surfaces when progress is imminent. But notice the shift. What once felt like constant attack is now being met with decisive retaliation. The atmosphere around you is changing. You may not hear thunder, but you can feel resistance loosening. The same forces that tried to drain you are now being confronted. Heaven does not negotiate with what threatens assignment, it dismantles it. What was sent to delay you is being turned back. What attempted to weaken you is losing its grip. This dismantling reaches deeper than surface-level struggle. Generational patterns that once repeated without explanation are being interrupted. Soul ties that drained clarity and strength are dissolving. Agreements formed in pain, fear, or survival are being revoked. This is not emotional release. It is spiritual severance. What attached itself to you without permission is being removed with authority. Understand this clearly. Retaliation from heaven does not create chaos. It restores order. You are not entering a season of instability. You are stepping into alignment. The pressure that once confused you now confirms that authority has been activated. And as reinforcement settles in, you are not just protected, you are positioned. What comes next will not require the same struggle because the ground beneath you is being secured. As the atmosphere shifts and resistance loses its hold, what unfolds next is not merely relief, it is ascension. You are moving into higher territory, and elevation always reveals what was previously hidden. Ascension does not happen quietly in the spirit realm. When authority increases, visibility increases. When visibility increases, warfare follows. This is not a setback, it is confirmation. The intensity of what tried to oppose you was never about destruction, it was about distraction. Attacks rise in proportion to calling. Small assignments do not trigger major resistance. The pressure you endured was not random, and it was not excessive. It was proportionate. The weight matched the destiny. The pushback matched the future. What you faced revealed the magnitude of what you carry. This is why heaven responded the way it did. When the calling is great, heaven does not send minimal reinforcement. It sends its strongest warrior. Archangel Michael's involvement is not symbolic. It is strategic. He is dispatched when territories shift, when authority is transferred, when rulership is contested. His presence signals that this is not a personal struggle. It is a kingdom matter. What you are stepping into affects more than your own life. It alters spiritual landscapes connected to you. Understand this clearly. You are not fighting to win. You are standing in a victory that is already secured. Warfare at this level is not about outcome. It is about confirmation. Heaven does not mobilize this way unless the result is settled. The battle exists because the decision has already been made in your favor. What remains is alignment, not effort. You may notice now that fear no longer lands the same way. Doubt tries to speak, but lacks authority. Old voices that once intimidated you sound distant and hollow. This is because your position has changed. You are no longer engaging from survival. You are engaging from elevation. The ground beneath you is higher. The perspective is clearer. The authority is greater. Let this reassure you. Victory is not approaching. It is active. The fact that you are still standing after what you endured is proof enough. You were not preserved by chance. You were sustained because the outcome required your presence. Heaven would not lift you into higher territory without securing your footing. You are not exposed. You are covered. You are not late. You are right on time. What comes next will not demand the same resistance because the transfer has already begun. Ascension has been granted. Authority has been confirmed. And heaven has made its position unmistakably clear. As authority settles and elevation becomes undeniable, the narrative shifts again, not into isolation, but into partnership. Heaven never intended for you to carry the weight of this assignment alone. The season of silent endurance taught strength, but it was never meant to become a permanent posture. What unfolds now is shared movement. What advances next does so, with backing alignment and cooperation from above. This is where understanding must mature. Divine partnership is not pity. Archangel Michael does not stand beside you because you are weak. He stands with you because the mission is weighty. Heaven partners with those trusted to steward influence, not those meant to be rescued. You are not being assisted out of sympathy. You are being reinforced because heaven values what you carry. Partnership signals confidence. It confirms trust. This partnership extends into areas where pressure once felt relentless, especially provision. Financial strain was not punishment. It was a test of alignment. Obedience in tight spaces never goes unnoticed. Every moment you chose integrity over compromise, faith over panic, generosity over fear, it was recorded. Philippians 4:19 is not a blanket promise detached from purpose. It is provision tied to assignment. Heaven supplies what sustains calling. What you need to fulfill, what you were sent to do, will be released, not extravagance for ego, but abundance with intention. You may begin to notice resources aligning differently. Opportunities that once stalled now move. Support arrives without manipulation. This is not coincidence, it is coordination. Provision flows when partnership is recognized. You are no longer hustling for survival. You are stewarding supply for purpose. Alongside provision comes vindication. Misunderstanding does not follow elevation forever. Seasons of being misread, underestimated, or quietly judged are not wasted, they prepare the stage. Psalm 23:5 was never about private comfort. It was about public reversal. A table prepared in the presence of enemies is not subtle restoration. It is visible honor. Those who questioned your integrity will witness your stability. Those who doubted your obedience will see the fruit. Vindication does not require explanation. Heaven does not argue your case, it demonstrates it. What once had to be defended will soon speak for itself. Your consistency becomes evidence. Your rise becomes clarity. This is the transition point from caring to co-laboring, from striving to stewarding, from being sustained to being supplied. Partnership replaces pressure. Provision replaces panic. Vindication replaces confusion. And as heaven stands with you, what once felt heavy now moves with grace because you were never meant to walk this next stretch alone. As partnership is established and provision begins to align, a sharper emphasis emerges. This is a now moment. Not soon, not eventually, not when everything feels safer or clearer. Divine timing is not flexible in the way human comfort prefers. It is precise, intentional, and often narrow. Windows open and windows close. What is before you is not a prolonged season. It is a decisive moment. This is why the urgency feels different. The pressure you sense is not confusion, it is acceleration. Breakthrough always carries weight because it demands movement. Heaven is not asking for perfection. It is asking for obedience. Delayed obedience is not neutral. It is a form of resistance. Hesitation stretches moments that were designed to be brief. What requires a step of faith now will not respond to waiting later. Understand this clearly. Obedience in this window does not mean reckless action. It means responsive alignment. When heaven speaks, timing is embedded in the instruction. To obey late is to miss the fullness of what was intended. This is why the stirring feels insistent. The nudge repeats. The clarity sharpens. You are not being rushed. You are being summoned. Divine timing operates with surgical precision. Nothing in your preparation was random, and nothing in this moment is accidental. The endurance, the silence, the warfare, the reinforcement, all of it converges here. Pressure intensifies because transition is underway. Birth pains do not signal destruction. They signal arrival. What you feel now is not strain. Without purpose, it is movement through a threshold. This is not merely a new season with familiar patterns rearranged. This is transition. Transition requires leaving one posture before fully seeing the next. It demands trust without full visibility. Old methods will not carry you forward. What sustained you before may not support you now. This is not loss. It is upgrade. Be mindful not to confuse comfort with confirmation. Heaven rarely confirms transitions by making them easy. It confirms them by making them necessary. The sense that you cannot stay where you are is the evidence that the shift is real. Staying would cost more than moving. This is the moment where alignment matters more than explanation. You may not be able to articulate why you must act, but you know that you must. The door is open now. The grace is present now. The instruction is clear enough now. Respond while the window is open. Move while the timing is right. What you step into next will not wait for prolonged deliberation. This is not pressure to fear. It is invitation to trust. Transition is already in motion. Obedience will determine how smoothly you pass through it. As obedience aligns with timing and transition begins to unfold, clarity is restored. Not gradually, but deliberately. Confusion does not survive in aligned environments. What once felt foggy now begins to sharpen. Decisions that felt overwhelming start to organize themselves. This is not because circumstances suddenly simplified, but because direction has been assigned. Clarity is not something you generate through effort. It is something you receive when alignment is complete. This restoration of vision carries strategy, not just comfort. Archangel Michael is not only a warrior, he is a strategist. In the book of Daniel, he appears in moments where understanding must break through resistance. When knowledge is delayed, he intervenes. When revelation is contested, he stands to ensure delivery. The clarity coming to you now is protected clarity. It is insight that survives opposition. It is direction that holds under pressure. You may notice that your thoughts are no longer spiraling the way they once did. Emotional noise is quieting. Mental loops that drained energy are loosening their grip. This is not emotional numbing. It is mental liberation. Chains form through prolonged stress. Fear or uncertainty are breaking. You are not losing sensitivity. You are gaining stability. Psalm 18:36 declares, "You enlarge my steps under me, and my feet have not slipped." This is the nature of the guidance now being released. You are not being rushed into narrow spaces where one misstep leads to collapse. Your footing is being widened. The ground beneath you is being secured before movement accelerates. Stability precedes speed in the kingdom. With clarity comes discernment. You will sense what to engage and what to ignore. Distractions lose their appeal. Voices that once confused you lose volume. This is not withdrawal, it is focus. Strategy always simplifies. What matters becomes obvious. What does not falls away without struggle. This guidance is practical, not mystical abstraction. Steps become clear. Timing becomes evident. You will know when to move, when to wait, when to speak, and when silence still serves. Confusion was never your identity. It was a symptom of transition. Now that transition is aligning, clarity settles in. Trust what you see now. Do not second-guess the peace that replaces panic. Do not question the calm that follows chaos. This clarity is not fragile. It is fortified. It has been defended before it reached you. You are not navigating blindly anymore. The path ahead may still unfold step by step, but each step is firm. Vision has been restored. Strategy has been assigned. And as guidance continues to unfold, you will move forward, not reacting to pressure, but advancing with purpose and precision. As clarity stabilizes your steps and strategy anchors your movement, something even deeper begins to shift identity. Not the version shaped by survival, but the one refined through fire. What you endured was never evidence of weakness. Attacks did not come because you were fragile. They came because you were purposeful. Threat is only directed toward what carries impact. The intensity you faced was a response to what you were becoming. This is where faith reveals its true nature. You were not preserved because you were delicate. You were preserved because you were being forged. Fire does not exist to destroy what is authentic. It exposes it. What could not survive the heat was never meant to accompany you forward. What remains is not brittle belief, but fireproof faith, tested, reinforced, and unshakable. Trauma does not define you anymore. What once wounded you is being transformed into testimony. Pain that tried to silence you is becoming language. Loss that attempted to disqualify you is becoming credibility. You are not carrying scars as reminders of defeat. You are carrying them as proof of endurance. Testimony is not the absence of pain. It is the authority gained through it. Isaiah 54:17 declares that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and more than that, every tongue that rises against you in judgment will be condemned. This is not passive protection. It is active vindication. Heaven is not merely shielding you from harm. It is restoring your standing. Accusations lose their power. Mislabels fall away. Narratives written without your consent are being rewritten with truth. Notice the difference. Now you are not striving to prove who you are. Authority is returning without effort. Confidence no longer needs volume. Presence no longer needs explanation. When identity is restored, validation becomes unnecessary. You know who you are and that knowing carries weight. This restoration is internal before it is visible. You feel it in how you respond or don't respond to provocation. You sense it in the calm that replaces defensiveness. Fireproof faith does not flinch at opposition because it has already survived worse. What once triggered fear now barely registers. Let this settle deeply. You are not emerging fragile. You are emerging forged. The process did not weaken you. It refined you. What remains is solid, grounded, and aligned. You are no longer defined by what happened to you, but by what rose within you because of it. Identity has been restored. Faith has been fortified. And as you move forward, you do so, not as a survivor, hoping to endure, but as a bearer of authority, who has already endured and overcome. As identity settles and faith stands, fireproof vision is unveiled with precision. What opens now does not open early or late. It opens at the exact moment authority can sustain it. Timing protects assignment. Doors that remain shut were not denials. They were safeguards. What is opening now is opening because you're ready to carry what comes through it. With vision comes a noticeable shift. Authority replaces fear. You're no longer approaching the future, cautiously hoping not to fail. You're stepping forward with awareness, discernment, and weight. Fear fades, not because challenges disappear, but because clarity disarms intimidation. When you can see, you can stand. Veils are lifting. Spiritual sight is being restored. Patterns you once couldn't explain now make sense. Discernment sharpens. You recognize what aligns and what distracts. What once felt confusing now appears obvious. This is not arrogance. It is illumination. Sight returns when responsibility increases. Isaiah 30:21 declares, "You will hear a voice behind you saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.'" Guidance becomes conversational, not distant. Direction is no longer abstract. It is immediate. Steps are ordered in real time. You do not need to see the entire road. You only need to hear clearly, and you are hearing clearly now. The hidden season is being validated. What you built in secrecy was never wasted. Matthew 6:6 was not a poetic concept. It was a promise. What was cultivated in private is now authorized for public impact.
The discipline, integrity, and faithfulness that no one applauded are now forming the foundation for influence that will be visible. This is where leadership activates not through title, but through responsibility. Leadership in the kingdom begins when others are affected by your obedience. Influence flows when alignment is consistent. You are not being elevated for recognition. You are being positioned for service that carries weight.
Understand the mantle being placed upon you. A mantle is not just glory, it is responsibility. It carries authority, but it also carries expectation. It is heavy because it matters, and you are ready because you have been prepared. The weight will not crush you, it will anchor you. What opens now will require you to lead. Speak, decide, and stand, but you will not do it alone, and you will not do it unsure. Vision has been unveiled. Leadership has been activated, and the future impact tied to your obedience is no longer distant. It is unfolding now, step by guided step. As everything converges, identity restored, faith refined, vision unveiled, the final truth becomes undeniable. You are not preserved to remain hidden. What unfolds now is not exposure, but activation. This is the moment leadership moves from potential into function, from calling into consequence. The door opens at the right moment because heaven guards timing more fiercely than opportunity. Early access would have crushed you. Late access would have discouraged you. But now you have weight, discernment, and authority. The opening is not dramatic because it is deliberate. You walk through it, not rushing, not hesitating, but recognize. Fear no longer governs your decisions. Authority has replaced it. Fear asks, what if I fail? Authority asks, what must be stewarded? This is how you know leadership has activated your questions. Change. You are no longer preoccupied with survival or approval. You are focused on responsibility, impact, and obedience. Veils that once blurred your sight are lifting. You see patterns. You sense timing. You discern alignment. This is restored spiritual sight, not mystical confusion, but grounded perception. You recognize what belongs with you and what must be released. You can see danger before it reaches you. You can see opportunity without chasing it. Vision sharpens when identity is settled. Isaiah 30:21 becomes lived reality. This is the way. Walk in it. Guidance is no longer distant or vague. It is present, directional, and steady. You don't need 10 confirmations. You need one clear instruction. And you are hearing it. The hidden season now stands validated. What was built in silence was never overlooked. Matthew 6:6 was not symbolic. It was structural. Heaven rewards privately before it reveals publicly. The strength you gained when no one saw you is what makes you credible when many will. Leadership does not arrive with applause. It arrives with mantle. And a mantle carries both glory and weight. Glory attracts. Weight stabilizes. Without weight, glory destroys. But you were prepared for both. You have been shaped to carry influence without losing humility, visibility without losing alignment. This is not promotion for ego. This is positioning for assignment. People will be impacted by your obedience. Environments will shift because you show up aligned. Your leadership will not announce itself. It will be felt. Vision has been unveiled. Leadership has been activated. And what begins now will ripple further than you can yet see, because heaven does not elevate for display, but for dominion. As leadership activates and vision settles into daily movement, one final barrier is removed. Shame. Not exposed, not negotiated with, but broken. Shame is the last weapon used to keep the called inactive. It whispers disqualification long after forgiveness has been granted. But its authority ends here. The past is not being managed. It is being redeemed. Psalm 103:12 declares that as far as the east is from the west, so far has God removed your transgressions from you. This is not partial distance. It is irreversible separation. What once defined you no longer has access to you. Heaven does not revisit what it has erased. If God is not holding it, you are not meant to carry it. Notice the shift inside the inner accusations quiet. The reflex to self-correct, apologize, or shrink begins to fade. Shame does not always speak loudly. It often sounds like overthinking, hesitation, or the urge to stay unseen. But that voice is losing credibility. You are no longer agreeing with it. Silence replaces self-judgment. Peace replaces self-surveillance. With shame, broken responsibility becomes possible. Heaven does not commission those still negotiating their worth. You are being entrusted because your identity is settled. This is not a call to perform. It is a call to steward. Assignment requires consistency more than intensity. Daily obedience matters more than dramatic moments. Faithfulness in the ordinary protects authority in the visible. This is where alignment replaces survival mindset. Survival asks, how do I get through today? Alignment asks, what is required of me today? One reacts, the other responds. You're no longer operating from fear of loss. You're operating from clarity of purpose. Even small decisions now carry direction. Even quiet days hold weight. This commissioning is not symbolic. It is practical. How you show up matters. How you speak matters. What you tolerate matters. You are not waiting for a sign, you are becoming one. Responsibility does not begin when circumstances are perfect. It begins when obedience is chosen consistently. Let this settle. You are not disqualified by your history. You are authorized because of redemption. Your past does not discredit your future. It proves the depth of grace that qualified you. But once threatened to silence you, now strengthens your voice. The call is simple and weighty, at the same time walk aligned. Choose obedience daily. Do not retreat into old patterns of self-protection. You are not surviving anymore, you are stewarding. And as you embrace assignment without shame, you step fully into the life you were preserved to live. As this journey reaches its seal, everything converges into one sacred moment, not of information, but of activation. What has been revealed now must be received, and what has been received must be anchored through surrender. This is where identity, authority, and destiny are no longer discussed, but established. We begin in a posture of collective surrender, not as individuals striving to qualify, but as sons and daughters aligning with what heaven has already decided. There's gratitude rising now, not only for the breakthroughs, but for the silence, the delay, and the wilderness seasons that refined you. What once felt like abandonment was actually precision. Pain was not punishment. It was preparation. Every unanswered prayer, every closed door, every season of obscurity shaped the capacity required for what you are now carrying. And now with reverence, we acknowledge the divine reinforcement released over your life. The assignment of Archangel Michael was not symbolic. It was strategic. Protection was granted. Resistance was answered. Doors were cleared. But the purpose was never dependency. It was transition. Heaven stepped in so you could step forward. So now in this moment, old agreements are renounced. Guilt releases its grip. Delay loses its authority. Distortion, every lie spoken over your identity, worth, and timing is dismantled. You are no longer agreeing with fear, shame, or hesitation. You are agreeing with clarity. You are agreeing with courage. You are agreeing with provision that matches purpose. Let this prayer seal it. Father God, we come before you in humility and trust. We thank you for what you've done in secret, for the strength you built in us when no one saw. We receive the clarity you are releasing now. We receive courage to move when you say move. We receive provision, not for excess, but for assignment. We surrender our timelines and step into yours. Commission us to walk aligned, speak with wisdom, and steward what you've entrusted to us. Activate what has been dormant. Ignite what has been refined. We say yes to responsibility, yes to obedience, yes to becoming who you intended. In Jesus' name, amen. If this resonates in your spirit, if you feel the weight and peace of alignment, comment below. I receive it, and I'm ready to walk in it. Let that declaration mark this moment. And if you haven't yet subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next, this isn't the end, it's the release. Now go. Walk boldly, live surrendered, stay aligned. What has begun in the spirit will manifest in your steps.